morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. I guess the first thing to say is Happy Easter Monday. I'm here alongside my colleague Cyril Abaku.
Good morning, Ogiori.
Good. I mean, but it's to them, and maybe you want to say Happy Easter Monday.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Happy Easter Monday to you. Unfortunately, there's no going out, no buying of ice cream, but I mean, you can be home with your families and enjoy it at home.
Indeed, and we shall be talking about that because much later on in the program we have the Most Reverend Isaac Olawi, who will be joining us, and we'll be looking at. He probably hasn't seen anything like this before. I don't think anybody has seen anything like this. It's like Easter in lockdown. How does it go? How do we have to think about it? Anyhow.
In living memory, I don't think even during the Civil War, Lagos was locked down like this.
This is it.
But this is a...
And a few reverend gentlemen, I understand, or clerics, shall we just say, actually, the police was forced to arrest them because they indeed wanted to do something. We'll look at all of those aspects. But first of all, ordinarily, the 14-day lockdown in Lagos and Ogun, no, I beg your pardon, in the Federal Capital Territory and Lagos, should be expiring today. But we don't know whether it will be extended or not. You recall, Cyril, that in the absence of a clear, definitive statement, presidential spokesman Garba Shehu has tweeted that, it'll be on as long as necessary.
Yes, it would have been nice if perhaps by now, 2 days, 3 days to the end of the first lockdown, by now, we had been told that you will have, like they do in Congo, you will have 4 or 5 days or 2 days to stock up, and then another 14 days or another 1 week of lockdown. Clear communication is important in a time like this to avert mass hysteria, to enable people to make informed choices when critical times. And so people need to know at every point in where government is and what they're expected to do.
Indeed.
In the absence of clear information and clear communication, somebody could take the law into his hands.
Oh, well, talking about taking the law into our own hands, that we'll also touch on that because you might have seen there were tweets all over the place. Indeed, there were internet news reports about some areas of Lagos, particularly the Yanokwaja, Agege axis, and before that they had been right into Ogun State about generally the perception of people was that there was a breakdown of law and order. But law enforcement officials have since informed that, that was a bit of an overreaction and that it was people who actually coming out to, defend themselves, got mixed up with a lot of hoodlums, and but indeed we'll be talking about that as well. But the whole purpose of the lockdown is to try and contain the coronavirus, COVID-19. Before we go on to speak with a public health expert, Dr. Amadeli Boyo, I think we should take Sharon Ijason's report on the matter to sort of situate us. We'll be back right after that.
Ifo is a local government area in Ogun State, southwest Nigeria. Its headquarters is located in Ifo town, which is few kilometers away from Lagos. It has an area of 521 kilometers square and a population of more than 500,000 people, according to the 2006 census. For many years, the area which shares boundary with Lagos has suffered various neglects, including insecurity. Recently, a hashtag Ogun Rest was created on social media to draw public attention to the plight of residents of the area. Though a lot of misinformation were detected on the thread, the fact remains that there are a group of boys who were threats to the peace of the neighborhood.
Yeah, it is not encouraging. People are living in fear. They cannot sleep with a closed eye, many things have been happening in the streets, and we know that it's due to this lockdown of a thing. We know that this lockdown is just for our safety.
Broken bottles, damaged towels, and bonfire are what you find on the streets of the communities in Lagos, sharing boundary with Ifo local government area. Most affected areas are Ifako-Ijayi, Agbado Crossing, Okearo, Akute, Olambe, Ijoko, Ogbayo, Ajegunle, Iroko, amongst others. These communities, which play host to several factories, seem not safe for many residents who live here.
See now, we are burning tires every night. Afternoon, you cannot leave. They are coming. We are just scared, everybody.
Really easy, like when the whole thing started, like some people were like, you have to sleep with one eye open, one eye closed. With a baby in my hand, the only thing I would have to do that time was just to protect my son that time.
I met with Aduni Oshundairo, who narrated to me how her home was invaded by some hoodlums. She was devastated by the incident.
Around 3,
They started disturbing at about 3 a.m. I believe there is an increased number of robbery attacks because of the lockdown. Government should probably increase the stimulus package. We can't sleep anymore.
4 to 5 months ago,
It has been happening for more than 4 months, but it has now increased. They move in groups as much as 30, 40, or 50 boys at the same time. They have been robbing the community before now. They are underage boys between 14 years old and 20 years old. We have been staying awake between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m.
For some residents in Lagos and Ogun State who live in the border community areas, they've made several complaints to the state government and federal government to ensure that security is beefed up in this community. Though people living in the communities are scared of being robbed or abused, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police during a patrol in the area assured residents of maximum security.
They should be rest assured, they should sleep with their eyes closed, that police is on top of it. I go see my counterparts in Lagos, in Ogun State, those people that were arrested and paraded. So today, it will not end. So that's what's going on now. Our owners were paraded. They now know that there's no place to hide.
As residents of Ifo local government area await more attention from Lagos and Ogun State government, there is the need for urgent intervention in the security situation of the area. But for safety of people around the border communities to be guaranteed, the sit-at-home order must be adhered to, as movement, especially at night, might be dangerous. Sharon Ijason, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Report that went out earlier. Now, as I said, we have our friend Dr. Amadili Boyo. Dr. Amadili Boyo is a public health expert. He's also a commentator on health issues. He's always been with us. And as I was saying that the reason for the whole lockdown is to help contain the virus. Good morning, Dr. Boyo.
Hi, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Oh, good. Thank you very much for coming on. Now, could you help us there? What's your assessment? I know, of course, we're going to be waiting on experts like yourselves that will indeed be advising the president, but what's your assessment as to how we might go with this lockdown, since the whole purpose of it is to contain the spread of the virus? How well do you think we're doing in that regard?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. The first thing is for us to expect the government to give us a report on what they consider the government's view on the assessment of the 2 weeks so far, because the 2 weeks was to contain the virus, the COVID-19 spread. How far have we gone? Because as at March, 16th of March, when the first index case came, till the 17th of April, Lagos recorded 130 cases. And as I'm talking to you now, and that's within 23 days. Now, by today, we are talking of 176 cases, and nationwide, about 328, with Abuja, FCT having 56, and Ogun 20. So there are other states in the country that are just having 1 or 2. The problem is the 2 states that were supposed to experience lockdown, Abuja and Lagos, have not seen a decrease. I've not plateaued. We have about 85 people discharged, good. 10 dead. Well, that's what we have in Lagos here. So 5 dead in Lagos, but the whole country 10 dead, and then 5 new cases. So we have new cases coming up. The question is, why have we had such an improvement? Because if within the first 23 days, we had 130 cases, and by today, we have 176 cases, we appear to be doing well. The discharge rate has climbed up by about 25%, and we seem to be doing well. But the key thing here is, one, are we testing enough? For the whole country so far, we have just a little above 5,000 people tested. Now, with the cases that we have now, 323 or 335, depending on the time of the day you are looking at it, above 300. Each of these persons must have contacts in their compound and within their neighborhood. So the proper thing to do, first of all, is to assess how far can we go with this testing. People must be convinced about the purpose of the lockdown and how the lockdown has achieved those things. I give you an example with Lagos State. 50% of the result that Lagos State is having is coming from increased capacity to test. And then we have about some the food bank that is being distributed. If you look at it on television, good. But the process of distributing the food itself has raised more people coming around. And social distancing is nowhere when it comes to the trailer or the distribution of the food. People rush around, and we have in the streets of Lagos, you have people playing football. We still have within the neighborhoods. The lockdown seems to be affecting just the highways. Good enough, but 50% of this result has come from increased capacity of testing. But 80%, the enforced laws on social distancing and sitting at home is the key to the experience that we've had so far. Why? Imagine if all the schools were open. When children go to school, they mix up with themselves. Parents come to pick children, teachers come from homes, and things like that. So the lockdown has helped Lagos and Abuja tremendously. But like you said earlier in this broadcast, what is the impact of the 2 weeks lockdown? The impact is that the upper class, the middle class, the upper middle class, and the lower middle class, if there's anything like that, and the lower class have had a lot of problems. Why? Within the upper classes, it's easy to stay in an estate, live in a duplex, a 3-bedroom flat, and do social distancing. And it's easy when you have a running tap and you have your toilet to yourself, master bedroom toilet, and things like that. But for the lower class, they live like 100 people in a compound, and they use the same toilet and the same bathroom, and they have a well outside where they fetch water. Social distancing is being done on the roads. But as public health experts, you know that social distancing is not just staying at home, it's staying at home and keeping a distance within yourself, especially if you're not from the same family, in the compound. And that brings us to, do you have any things to add to the lockdown? One of the things I would have suggested to the government is to enforce wearing of masks. Because in as much as we can't keep people indoors, we can't just keep people indoors, except we want to use military. The police is not enough to ensure total lockdown of Lagos, as we see in Wuhan and New York. We don't have the security infrastructure. Even if we had the neighborhood watch, we had LASMA, we had civil defense in Lagos, people start crying that Lagos has turned to what do you call that? A communist government or dictatorship. Now everywhere is now looking very, very difficult. Our people will rise up. It's a low-income group that constitutes about 70% of Lagos. They have lost their earnings. The foodstuff in the house will finish. So somebody suggested that could we open the door for like 3 days of going to buy? It's good. But I can assure you that those 3 days will be 3 days of stampede. Why? The supermarkets are almost empty. The markets are almost empty. Lagos does not grow its own food. You have to go to Alakwere and K2 Market and Oyingbo to see foodstuff coming in from the north, from the east, and other parts of the west to cope with Lagos. With the lockdown, the source of agricultural produce itself is already limited. And we don't store grains. We don't store tomatoes. We don't refrigerate things. So you find out that even if they release 3, 4, 5 days to buy things, you find that we still will not get the poor to be fed. So what do? Could we get the banks, instead of giving the government 5 billion naira, could we get the banks to send money to people's accounts? If you do that, they will have money, but they will not have the food. Why? The people in the low-income class don't store soup. They don't have freezer. Those that have freezers don't have light. Those that have light may not have the freezer. So we have a situation where people are not used to storing food except the high-income class. And so when we are talking about lockdown, those who are playing football on the street are playing football on the street because they have no light indoors. They have no satellite TV to watch. They're not watching you and I as we're talking now because there's no light in many homes. So what's the solution? We are reaping what we have sown over the years. We have neglected our health services. We have neglected social infrastructure.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, Dr. Boyo. Dr. Boyo, if I could just get a word in. Dr. Boyo, if I could get a word in. Thank you very much, sir. Could I just ask, you spoke about the results we're getting being a result of increased testing. Related to that is the other question of, I think I read somewhere that returning a negative status is not, you're not necessarily out of the woods. Could you speak a bit about that? Because people felt that, look, if I get my test back and it's negative, I'm good. But we're now saying that, we're now seeing in some, seeing some statements as to that might not necessarily always be the case. Could you explain?
Yes, let me first correct the impression of increased testing. I didn't say sufficient testing. I didn't say efficient testing. I said increased testing. Because frankly speaking, the testing is not enough.
Okay.
The testing centers are very far and people are not reaching there. So the testing is really not enough, but it's increased. That's just simple. It's increased from what it was on March 16th.
Yes.
That's it. Now, people being discharged, we hear on television.
Or declared negative.
10 people discharged.
Sorry, sir. Not talking about people discharged. I'm not talking about
people. Are they discharged home? Sorry, sir. Are they discharged home or are they discharged to halfway home where they can recuperate? Because the problem with COVID-19 is the symptomatic issues, the respiratory failure issues with temperature and things like that. When we say they are discharged, even if they are tested negative, they are still coexisting issues like the cough and all those other things that we have to be sure that they have been properly treated for. So being sent home is not just being sent home because you are negative. We should assume that it's being sent home because you're not just negative, but that your symptoms are not serious enough as to keep you at Yaba. If it's not serious enough to keep you at Yaba, will you go to Lut? Will you go to Lasut? Will you go to General Hospital and stay for some time and recover fully? That's one. Then you now ask the question that if the testing is going on, we are hearing that some people positive. Yeah, we have seen that in the case of China, where China said, oh, COVID-19 is over. But now we're now seeing resurgence. Just like every viruses are very smart. They mutate.
Because that's the question I wanted to ask, Dr. Boyo. Dr. Boyo, I wanted to ask the question. Sorry, Dr. Boyo. Sorry for interrupting you. Dr. Boyo, sorry for interrupting you. Could you, wrapping it up, could you comment on if you come down with coronavirus and you are treated and discharged properly, have you therefore become immune to, being infected with coronavirus?
You're not immune because if you have tested negative and they discharge you, in fact, if you notice the NCDC, they do two testings. They say first testing negative and you have done a second testing where it's negative. Even with that second testing, it depends on your level of immunity. If you have what we call coexisting morbidities, like if you are diabetic, you're hypertensive, or you have other issues, cancer or anything like that, you are still prone because your being immune is dependent on the capacity of your body to produce the relevant antibodies to protect you. Even malaria, whenever you're immune to malaria, when you're beating again, you go down. So having the antibodies to fight it and you're negative now, you must still keep away from people who are positive. You must take care of your health by taking the appropriate hygiene, taking the appropriate steps.
I see. That's what I wanted to know, Dr. Boyo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We just wanted to know that one cannot relax. Even when you are discharged, one cannot relax. Thank you very much, Dr. Amadeli Boyo, for spending time with us, public health expert and social commentator. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Boyo. So, again, we're all waiting for the statement, and as Dr. Boyo indicated, we all know it will depend on the advice that the president gets. He will be waiting for his team to be able to make a decision and then pronounce. And in the pronouncement, there are other issues. Security has come up, because all of this is for our own good. But at the same time, look, whether we like it or not, there are no two ways of saying it. Here we are in Africa. We're a developing nation. We don't have we don't have the database. We don't have the statistics. People can't use information to get to you. Don't live where you are. We have information. We're going to get to you. It doesn't work like that. And so this is the challenge. And we are hearing, for instance, that a lot of the hue and cry last night about an apparent or a seeming breakdown of law and order was actually being misconstrued, because what was going on there was that People were coming out with cutlasses, with burning of tires to sort of help themselves, defend themselves, because the police had a difficulty getting to all the places that they needed to be to at the same time. And, you know, people panicked, and that's what the police would have us understand. That whereas it's not as if there wasn't an issue, but the whole matter was overstated. So there are these kind of concerns, because it's okay. How about if people, the real criminals, now joining with the, you know, community guys, and the police don't like us, the law enforcement agencies don't like us to take laws into our own hands. But you see people purchasing cutlasses, buying cutlasses. There's a hashtag, Agege Unrest, for instance.
You know, if you have this happening on the 13th day of the lockdown, in a manner of speaking, let's say 12th, 13th of the lockdown, in a manner of speaking, we have done well for ourselves on one hand. On the other hand is the fact that I was one of the advocates of the lockdown, even I should have come much earlier than it did. And my reason was not that the lockdown will be, first of all, a critical tool in beating back the virus, not even contain to contain the outbreak. My primary concern was that a virus like COVID-19 was ravaging the world, and Nigeria was not even taking a slumber nor sleeping. People still went about doing their normal things, you know. My concern was that impose a lockdown to create awareness, first of all.
We know there's an emergency.
First of all, that was even what we were, you know, what we wanted. Now, the lockdown was imposed, but again, realistically speaking, government alone may not, I repeat, may not be able to tick all the boxes. Now, if you hear the concerns, we saw in Sharon's report, people who live in those areas will say, the reason why we had this uproar was because there was no food coming to them. That was one major concern. People were, you know, I would say, you kept us at home, we were in our houses, we didn't come out, even if some of them are playing ball in the streets, and basically what they meant was that they had abandoned a means of livelihood and confined themselves to their spaces.
Yes.
And that, so if in a city where people live on what they make on a daily basis, once that stops coming in, there's going to be a problem. So that's why I say, in a manner of speaking, if we could hold that up for more than a week, for up to 10 days, 11 days or so, it was great kudos. But so what do we do?
This is the whole problem. And that, no doubt, is what the president and his team are probably really agonizing over. Because to relax the situation, to relax the lockdown, has all of its own inherent challenges. To not relax it, as the so-called Awawa boys, that's what I mean, you know, they called Awawa boys in the Agege area. I said, which one is Awawa boys? Apparently, apprentices to becoming full-blown, you know what I mean? And they were chanting that, there's nothing, we don't have anything to eat, you know. So it's like the frustration could be stepping in, yet we are, it's really a dilemma. It's really a dilemma.
Look, when you see...
Dr. Boyo was pointing out, and people can understand, you relax it, people go for
There's going to be...
And then that whole matter of social distancing, nonsense is made of that. And
no, but let's hope that if we had opened supermarkets between 10 and 4 p.m. every day since last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay, you're talking about the urban centers.
One, and then number two, neighborhood markets have also been operating. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
So let's hope that, I mean, this just comes down to proper planning, and like Dr. Boyo said, when government has a report, government has a lot of information that we don't have. When you have a proper sit rep, and you look at the pros and cons.
Situation report.
Of course.
Because you journalists and all your...
You know, so when you have a sit rep, a situation report, you look at the pros and cons, you weigh your options, and then you take a decision. But certainly a choice must be made by the end of today.
Without compromising information, good information. That is, you know, there are too many of our people that are saying, this corona is not as big a deal.
Sorry.
It's important.
If
this corona is not that big a deal.
If I just may, what we have today, and we must be very careful about this thing, is what we call infoglut. Too much information. But there is no deliberate designing of information and communication to target people in order to get them to behave in a predetermined way. It's not there. That is like rightly said, people that live in tenements, how do you deal with that? People that live in, that they, there are some business places in Lagos now. The people have turned to football pitches. When we say stay home, people say, okay, what that has even done for us is that schools are shut, offices are shut, public places are shut, stadium and so on. But they are still doing the same things that led government to lock down the economy, as it were. And so how do we make people to leave their office spaces, leave schools, and still shun those same behavioral patterns that they should have shunned if they were to remain in those places that they were taken away from?
They put money in their account that you would have caused them to open, is one idea that I heard. That, look, use this opportunity to bank Nigerians that are horribly underbanked anyway.
Which I fully
we have
support.
Tony Ofoyet on the line, I understand now. And, he's a security consultant and our friend. Good morning, Mr. Ofoyeton.
Good morning, Gary. Good morning. How are you?
Indeed. Well, all things considered, great. You're seeing, I imagine, because you're a resident of Lagos, what people would call the security implications, and I'm really talking about law and order now, of this lockdown. Maybe is it lockdown fatigue? And in certain areas of Lagos State, the police has already commented on that, and I said that it's largely, an exaggerated, sense of apprehension, and that matters are well in hand. But how serious do you think these security implications are, and with youths that are idle, roaming around and, causing mayhem?
Well, as I'm saying, these are things that ordinarily, proactively are expected. There is no way that criminals will not take advantage of the vulnerability that, we found ourselves necessarily, not because of our doing. But at that point in time, I think what the security agency were not concerned about was the implementation of the federal government order on no movement, which was good enough. But what we also expected is the use of technology to actually look at the movement of miscreants and criminals. If you look at the record, they move in groups. From what we saw in the news and the like, some in 50, some in 100, and even what scenario I think it's in Ogun State that was reported that about 200 of them or thereabouts were moving together. So if the security agencies have been able to, use the instrumentality of technology, Lagos State is good to the extent that they've been able to mount CCTV camera in major strategic places in Lagos State. From the central command, they will be able to monitor movement. But I think they were majorly concerned about the movement of people to minimize, if possible, eradicate the spread of COVID-19, which was good. But I think that it should have been such that proactively they would have expected that no matter what you say about COVID-19, there are criminals that will exploit that vulnerability. And that's what we are seeing playing out now. We've heard of people robbers going to rape people in their respective homes. We've heard of even kidnaps, here and there. Basically for physiological needs. That also speaks volume also for the area of trying to take care of the needs of the people equitably and reasonably too.
Because, Tony, one thing security people don't like, and I'm talking about professionals now, the police, they don't want people to take the laws into their own hands. But you find that people are saying that they send an SOS to the police. The police is spread so thin, I imagine, is the only reason why they are not able to respond in tune with the desperation of the caller, to whom it is an emergency. It's almost, as far as they are concerned, a matter of life and death. The police can't be there. So you now find a situation where they say in Agege, they say cutlasses were selling faster than pure water sachets. Maybe that's a bit hyperbolic, but you get the sense. People, because they say extreme measures require being addressed in an extreme sort of a way. They say people are now not waiting for the cover of darkness to terrorize people. Allegedly, even in broad daylight, it was happening. So we have a problem here. We have, at the one time, don't take laws into your own hands. On the other hand, you see scores of people, residents, associations, arming themselves with cutlasses.
Now, you see, one thing you must understand about the concept of jungle justice is jungle justice always thrives where there is, a distrust on the functionality of government security agencies. Once there is no trust, once there is no assurance, and assurances are based on precedent, and of course on what happened at the point of emergency, like you have rightly mentioned. When a situation where the people call on security agencies for help in emergency and they are not getting the help, they suffer the first casualty, the second casualty. They will, as much as possible, prevent the occurrence of a third casualty.
Yes.
And that is where you will see that the people will look at how to defend themselves. Now, in such situation, what we expect the government to do is to put machinery in place. Good enough, the news we are hearing now is that the aggregate situation is already calm. A security agency has taken over. But it is not a matter of just aggregate now.
Yes.
The government should really look at all over Lagos State. Don't forget that Lagos State is a state of about 20 million people. And out of the 20 million, don't be too embarrassed if you have an average of 50,000 criminals. It is not a bad number for such a population. How will the security agencies be able to, meet those criminals, put them in their right position now? Don't forget that you have free roads. No, it's beaten. They can run as much as they can. And don't also forget that the security agencies are already overstretched because they are also looking at helping government to minimize the spread of COVID-19.
Indeed.
And the human numerical strength is not up to what we are talking about. So if they have to deal with 50,000 criminals, for example, what is the numerical strength of police in Lagos State?
Okay, we're going to have to leave it here. We're going to have to, I beg your pardon, yes. Tony. We're going to have to leave it there, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come on our program. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Ofoyeta, security consultant. And it's like, we shout out to our boys in uniform. We're talking about the police. They're doing a yeoman's job. It might not seem like it when you're in a bad emergency. When people are phoning, police, come, they're in front of my house, they're banging my gate down. When they can't arrive as if by magic, you sometimes lose perspective. But as Mr. Foyeta was saying there, and as we all know, there are limitations of numbers. I was monitoring, as it were, on Twitter yesterday, and when, after a lot of desperate calls and all of that, finally, when a convoy of policemen showed up, you need to see the way they were cheering them as if they were, it was a football match. And this was dead in the night, and everybody and suddenly the tone changed, oh, thank you, police, thank you, our guys, and come. But it's a problem. We don't have enough. So our guys are really spread thin. We have a dilemma on our hands. Tony was maybe putting those figures across. 20 million population, maybe 50,000 hoodlums. God forbid that they are concentrated in one area and overwhelm the police. Certainly we don't want an emergency. We don't want to bring army soldiers onto the streets.
So what we should do now is to look at the matter from the very root of it.
Okay. Maybe we use this opportunity to say that people can call in and so that we can hear your experiences and get your comments, both on, one, the whole matter of reviewing the lockdown, two, the pockets of terror that were unleashed yesterday in different areas of the country, in Ogun and in Lagos. And so,
as early as Saturday, there had been cases. People were reporting Abule Egba and some
other
Mera and so on.
That's right.
So, but you see, you need to look at remote and immediate causes. This recent manifestation, people saying we don't have food to eat.
Yes.
So it means that there is a proximate cause of what is going on. The behavioral manifestation of crime tells us where it is coming from. And so criminal elements will always be in society and different places. But the question we should be asking ourselves, what is the immediate cause of what we are seeing, and how can we address it immediately? It will not be fine that we are dealing with a health emergency, and in the middle of it, it is now sandwiched with a security emergency. There's only so little you can do. So how do we immediately deal with this matter from the root? I'm saying that the palliatives that we should be shipping to these people perhaps is not getting to them. Don't get me wrong. If anybody is arrested, you'll be dealt with according to the law. But what preventive steps can we take? That is the big question at the moment. Getting to reach these people in the place in the area it matters to them is fundamental. As soon as we can get that with one hand, it will be easy to deal with with the rest. The people who are now buying cutlasses to defend themselves, landlords and youth associations, they're also affected by the lockdown.
They are.
So what's the president from the others?
You know, I don't know what's going on. In some areas, for sure, hoodlums, criminals have moved into the matter.
Burning shops.
Thank you. Burning shops, writing letters that were coming back. Allegedly, some associations apprehend, the ne'er-do-wells, hand them over to the police, and allegedly they're out, in a jiffy. They're back out in a jiffy. Now, and I have to say allegedly because you don't really know what's going on, because their perspective might not be the policeman's perspective. The policeman is dealing with law. I don't know how.
See, that's why in dealing with COVID, we had said that community leaders ought to take ownership of the process. Government can there is a responsibility for government to dispense or to execute or to take. But there must also be a portion of responsibility that should be owned by community leaders. Enlightenment campaigns, sensitization, delivery of relief packages, and so on. But again, in a space where over the years, trust between the government, the governed and the governed, and the government has broken down significantly. What can we do?
Tony was saying that.
As a matter of fact,
he says it depends on if the trust is going to arrive as a result of precedence.
Dr. Boy also said the same thing. But precedent can begin in one day, and that is why we have failed. What we could have done is to make sure that whatever we needed to do, Tony pointed that out to say proactively look. This thing was predicted. I mean, anybody could have seen this coming.
Unfortunately,
yes. The governor has said that, look, security agencies be friendly with our people.
Yeah, the governor had said that.
And that much was done.
Yes.
But you see, friendship, you can make friendship by shaking hands. How about the stomach? How about the stomach? So these people who have come out, they are saying that smiling to them and making good speeches is one thing. But in reality,
they are saying that they are hungry. And as you say, this would have been predicted. And that's why it's not an on and off kind of a situation in terms of deciding should we relax or should we not relax the restrictions. Garba Shehu was saying, a bit cryptically, that the lockdown would have to continue. The restriction would have to continue as long as necessary. It's a nice wide margin, He didn't say very much in there, but he did open up the door for a possibility of the president coming up with, indeed a decision to extend it. But if you extend it, there are implications. And if you don't, there are implications.
So you weigh the pros and cons and make it and take the choice that has the least consequence. The fact is this. The fact remains this. The cynicism, the sarcasm, of course, and the general skepticism, the doubt as to what is this even really about has to be dealt with.
We have to work with that, informing our people,
right?
So that you get them on side.
It has to be seriously dealt with, like I said.
Because people are seeing, some people, a large percentage of the people, I dare guess, are seeing it as a big bother. And it's not, it's much more than a bother, but it goes back to what you're saying. Maybe they're not sufficiently informed.
Did you hear the case of the young man who left Lagos and traveled, I think, to Abuja and then perhaps to Kano also, and then ended up in Kaduna?
Yeah.
And then he became a new case of the virus in Kaduna. Yeah. Now nobody knows how many people he would have come in contact with, because he went in public transport on the one hand, and then Uncle Yori, don't forget the fact that he said, I think he had been in Kaduna for about 2 weeks, moving about, meeting people, and then before perhaps he came up with the symptoms and he was diagnosed. How do you begin to deal with that? How can we get the citizen, and I believe so much in the power of persuasion, how can we get the citizen to come to realize that, look, I have a role to play. I have a stake in making sure that this disease does not spread. At least it won't get to me, but I too wouldn't spread it, or I too, I won't expose myself in a way that also exposes others and leads to the spread of the disease. This question must be answered. This question must be dealt with. If we don't do it, it comes back in our faces. For starters, whilst we draft security people, whether it is the military, whether it is NSCDC, whether it is the police into these places, we must also make sure that the man we lock up in the house who does not have his stomach also locked up. Because you can't lock that down for too long.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we can get, we can join on the phone now the Methodist Archbishop of Lagos, the Most Reverend Isaac Olawi. Well, good morning, Reverend. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Aha, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
My name is Yori Folani alongside my colleague Cyril Abaku, and we thought to ask you, this is a unique Easter period. We were saying that we don't believe anyone in living memory has seen anything like it. Reverend?
Yes.
Did you hear me?
It's a very unique one because we have not really witnessed this kind of event in this era. So to say, where COVID-19 has become a global problem.
Reverend, can you hear us? The connection seems to have gone a bit bad. We will try and reconnect and see if it's any better. In case you can hear us, that's what we're going to try and do and see if we can get a better connection next time around. As the Most Reverend was saying, the Catholic, the Methodist Archbishop of Lagos, Most Reverend Isaac Olawi, that we're trying to connect with on the phone, he was just beginning, saying that in living memory, nobody has seen this. Yet we still have to say, Happy Easter. Indeed, people are saying Happy Easter. Never mind the actuality. That is not a very happy Easter. But then we probably don't look around. We don't look with physical eyes, so to speak, not to start to sort of wax lyrical. It's not wax religious. It's not my place. But I imagine that's why, it's a matter of faith. And, in these times, people will still say a happy Easter.
And I think we need to commend a lot of groups, without naming anyone in particular, church groups, that have taken the occasion of Easter to deliver a lot of foodstuff and welfare packages to the less privileged in a lot of communities across the country. I think that at this point, we should declare the entire COVID-19 period an Easter period. because that commandment to be a brother's keeper is not limited to a particular period of time. Every day should be Easter for all Christians. Christ rose many years ago. This is a mere commemoration. And so we need to have that mindset in our hearts every single day that we live. Indeed. That indeed there's reason, and that there's reason with all the blessings and goodwill for mankind. We today are the Christ who should go from door to door, neighbor to neighbor, community to community, spreading that goodwill. At a time when community spread.
Don't make it too churchy. No. You're a journalist. Don't make it too churchy.
At a time when community spread is the big fear now. Can we as a people rise and run faster than the virus? We can.
Okay.
We can. We can run faster than the virus. We can. Those things that people are going out to look for on a daily basis, how can people who have interest?
Charity.
I saw a group the other day using technology and saying, dial so and so code or call so and so number, go on our website and you know, fill it out. We bring food to your doorstep. I mean, what level of magnanimity is that? And these are the
Let us also not forget the palliatives that government is putting out there for the people. Now, I know that has come for a heck of a lot of criticism, but the figures are humongous. And I think I was reading something about they now are about to maybe listen to criticism and about to digitize the process in the interest of transparency and accountability.
I have my reservations about this.
Okay.
We shouldn't be using digital technology as an afterthought.
Well, unfortunately,
intentions matter a lot. Look, somebody showed me last week.
You know, like in the marketplace with a table and you have
last
Naira
week,
notes on top of a table.
somebody showed me a picture.
Yeah.
Of people I know in my own local government of Clergy and River State. Somebody showed me a picture of little girls I know. And they said that we are sharing money for them. I was you know, like I made some phone calls. I said, and they said no money was shared anywhere. So you can imagine the extent to which some people can go to get pictures.
Okay.
And you know, I mean, fake news. Fake news. How do so it even calls into question some of the areas that are purportedly sharing money. Please, I think
that's a very grievous one.
I honestly want to think and believe that if we want to share money to the most vulnerable in our society, we can do it without a hassle.
It has to be digital. But
without a hassle.
I think only this morning I was reading somewhere that government is now seriously looking at, maybe they've decided that that's the way to go, no doubt listening to criticism, because people have said that there's going to be a lot of accounting to be done, and all sorts of stories. We don't know whether those stories are cooked up. On the one hand, the idea was that we shall expect an accounting, and then subsequently there was something else that comes with that, well, you see, we might not be able to do an accounting because people don't want to be identified as the poor and the wretched, and in order to do an accounting, we're going to have to, the way you want.
At the kickoff in Abuja, what we were told was that there was a social register. There is no need for all this controversy. If you look, for a long time, even the Nigerian Constitution in Chapter 2 talked about social welfare.
I beg your pardon.
But because we have no structures to enforce social welfare, we're having all the challenges.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think we have a Prince Enahoro calling in from Muwo Dolphin. Good morning, Prince.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate this session. I've been on this TVC since morning, trying to see and follow up the discussion.
Thank you.
First, I want to say this. Every government can't have this opportunity to really understand how the citizens, what they are passing through, and every area they need to really focus on. First, in the area of the food and the hunger in the society. This is a must. It's something we must expect. And secondly, the area of the security. One of the strongest weapons to fight war is hunger. One of the strongest weapons to bring about war is also hunger. Crisis is something that will come, but hunger naturally brings fire. Things will happen to economy, but hunger is one of the factors that will stay. As it is now, we are only preparing for how to counter this disease, but nobody is talking about other factors and other things that will come about. Now, what we are experiencing this new week is just an introduction to what will happen before the end of the week. The police cannot save this situation. As the other speaker was saying, we have to also contribute part of it. Yesterday, I was coming from the island, trying to navigate through the road because I have the permit, and I have to stop by to start sharing money for young people on the street. I wake up in the morning to pray, to see people, to feed people, to give money to. This is something. We have over 54% poor Nigerians in this country. And inside this 54%, we have almost 30% that are poor. Not just poor, they can't feed on $1 a day. They have, I know about over 20 million people now can't even take in water, good water, not to talk about food.
Indeed.
You can't lock people inside.
I want to thank you very much for calling in, Prince. Really appreciate your call, but we're running out of time. Thank you very much for giving us your perspective as well. And the point he's making is that this is just the tip of the iceberg, because what this has done, I think, this situation here, is that it has opened up our flanks. You see, when we didn't have COVID-19 and all its attendances, when we didn't have it, it seemed as if we could carry on. We had a normal kind of a society. But the moment something has happened now, we begin to see stresses, strains, perhaps, God forbid, breakages. Because there's nothing we can do, as a matter of fact, in the case of an emergency, of getting supplies across to our people. Even to access money sometimes is now a problem. Maybe, just wrap it up with another half a minute, because we've got to go now.
The simple thing to say is that somebody told me once, anarchy is lawlessness governed by laws. There are people who can speak to these mobs and these hordes. Let us reach out to them and make sure that, at least for once, we won't have a health emergency.
The problem is, now you go reach out to them?
No, well, when I say reach out to them,
okay.
It's big. Reach out to them and make sure that we won't have a security emergency in a health emergency. Nobody can stand that.
Let's just leave it there. Thank you very much, Cyril Abakru. And also thanks to you out there for being with us. And as we wait on the president to know, which way. Are we still with this? Is it going to be amended, adjusted? Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.